I failed my step one by 3 points. So by the time I started applying in 2020, I was already 5-year-old graduate. I kept trying hard, but third time was the charm, and I signed up for Sarthi, which was the best decisions I ever took.
Good morning, good evening. Today we have our student, Dr. Pankaj Joshi, who matched in family medicine, and he had a lot of challenges to overcome. So we'll discuss some of those challenges and tips for you all. So welcome, Pankaj. Glad to have you here.
Hi, Pawan sir. Thank you for having me here. It's an honor.
Thank you, Pankaj. So let's start off with your background and your profile a bit. Tell us something about yourself.
Of course, yeah. So I'm originally from Ahmedabad, Gujarat, India, and I completed my medical school from the Philippines. I'm a 2015 graduate, and I matched into family medicine in Alabama and during my third cycle because I've had few red flags and I had to navigate through those. So it took a while.
So let's pick it up from there. So your challenges, right? So older YOG, some red flags, Philippines college. So tell us what these challenges were and how did you plan to overcome? After all, you matched in your third cycle. So let's start one by one. What were your challenges?
Sure, yeah. So first one was my step one attempt. I failed my step one by 3 points. It was very difficult during that time. And as we know, every programs use filters. So step one attempt was a big red flag that I had to navigate through. Second one was my year of graduation being 2015. So by the time I started applying in 2020, I was already 5-year-old graduate. And I should have, so that is something I'm not proud of. I should have done better in that case, but it was what it was in that case. So navigating through that was very challenging, and one of the reasons why I did not get many interviews during my first and second cycle because I was getting filtered out, and COVID did not help because I was in the US. I kept trying to get more rotations, but it was very challenging and almost not possible at that time. So I kept trying hard, but third time was the charm, and things started opening up, and I had made modifications. Of course, I signed up for Sarthi, which was the best decisions I ever took. And I remember after getting unmatched for the second time, I had a meeting with you when I signed up, and we made a checklist. We decided what should be the next steps, and I decided to go all in this time, and it helped.
Thank you. So now let's, so you mentioned the lower scores and lack of USC and such. So what changed specifically in this third season? How did you go about it? What things did you do differently?
Okay, yeah. So first was that I was applying for internal medicine and family medicine both. Many students do that, but after taking a hard look at my CV and profile, and after discussing with you, I think we both agreed that family medicine I had a better chance in FM. So biggest change was that I was only focusing on FM this time. Second was that I'm currently living in Missouri, St. Louis. So I applied for assistant physician license, which was one of a bigger change in my CV because all my interviewers asked me about that what is the role? Only 5 states in US give AP license. So they were curious about it. And third thing was that as rotation started opening up, program outreach at Sarthi always recommends that. So I emailed about 200 programs. I researched all 700 and emailed 200, which I had a chance at. So, and only 5 or 7 got back. 3 or 4 said no, but 2 or 3 said yes. So I took up those rotations. And in my mind, I was very clear that every rotation is equal to an interview for me. So not only securing an LOR, but also securing an interview. That was my goal. And that's exactly what happened. So I did work as an AP whenever I did not have a rotation. Whenever I had a rotation, I was doing those. I even went to a same place twice because after my first rotation, I had a very good vibe that I have a chance here. So after 6 months in January, so this January, I went there again just to make sure and solidify my chances. So those are some things that you get vibes from and you have to follow your feeling.
So this
So
is
that was good.
very interesting. You worked as an assistant physician and then you chased the rotation. But I think it was your mindset that each rotation is an interview, which really must have brought out the best of you. Very good.
Yes.
Very good. So then tell us about the interviews. You got enough number of interviews. How did you go about preparing for these interviews?
So I had two interviews last year. This time around, I had seven interviews. Three were from my rotations, and I also targeted newer programs. So I had a list of 24 new programs in FM. I emailed everywhere asking them for a rotation. I have advice here that many times we ask for an interview. They don't know you. So there's a good chance they're not going to give you an interview right away. So what I did was I asked everyone for a rotation, and I pretty much knew that they were going to say no because they are still figuring things out. But that way they notice and they see that you are trying to come here, you're really interested, and it starts a chain of communication, right? So out of those 24, I got three interviews, which was good. And I think overall, having the positive mindset is very important. Having step three is really important, and chasing the opportunities, making smarter choices is very important, because we barely get 4 to 5 months before September, between like April and September. So where do you invest your time, energy, money makes a lot of difference. And that's where I think Sarthi was a game changer in my case, because I would have wasted a lot of time knowing like trying to figure out things on my own. But Sarthi, filtered out all the information and gave me things to do. That this is the things that if you do it, it will get you the residency. And that's exactly what happened. One more thing I'd like to add is that many students stop doing rotations after September, but it is very important to continue going because the war is not done there. I did two more rotations after that, and those two were like two more interviews for me. So continue doing that until I would say January end or even February, because you'd never know what clicks.
Ah, very good tip. So, like you said, you got only 5 to 6 months everyone has before application starts. So, if you were to give some tips to the students now, how they should approach the match, what would be your top tips given your 3 cycles experience on what they should be doing now?
Of course, yeah. So first thing would be to make up their mind about a specialty. I have seen students struggle between two, three specialties, and chasing them would weaken your profile for every one of them. So make up your mind. Any student who has a red flag or a attempt on your CV, step three becomes mandatory, in my opinion. So very important to take step three in advance. Also, see what your specialty requires. Let's say for family medicine, I had spoken to 5 or 6 program directors in last 2 years, and none of them mentioned too much about research. They said that it's good to have, but they are not looking for it. So I, dedicated all my efforts into getting clinical rotations rather than doing more research, because I had one or two that was enough, according to them. So getting to know what is important and making smart choices again is very important. And as Sarthi suggests us, program outreach, talking to 300 programs via email is very important, because you only need 2 or 3 or 5 of them to respond, and they do. I know that usually everyone says that it's going nowhere, but you never know. I would really like to say that, because 2, 3 replies, and that's all you need, I think.
Okay. Uh, so as we wrap up, how did you use Sarthi resources, whether it was a Telegram group or other classes? How did you make use of these resources?
I think Sarthi is like a best friend you can have during this journey, I would say. Because last April, I was confused between family medicine, pathology, and pediatrics. And I remember you told me that you have a week, decide what you want to do. Otherwise, I would have wasted 2 months figuring things out. So that was first thing. And then at every step, students tend to procrastinate. So when you have a deadline that you have to make a draft by this month, first draft, second draft, then you are always there in time. There is a checklist that you have to do. So Sarthi, Telegram group, even Sejal, Aarti, all the helpers, everyone are great that they help you with whatever you can get. And the PS drafting, the CV drafting, interview practice, how to say things, what to say, what not to say, it's hard to figure out on your own, I would say. So rather than learning from 3, 4, 5 cycles, I would say have someone's help and learn everything quicker, and then just put it into the picture. So that will save you a lot of time, and ultimately the goal is to get residency. So whatever it takes, I would say.
Well, thank you very much, Pankil. I much appreciate and a very impressive journey. I think your perseverance and dedication is all to see. So hopefully other students can make use of your tips. Thank you very much.
Of course, yeah. No, it's great having me here. Great to be here. I'm sorry.
Thanks. Thank you.